be having a program on the FT8 digital mode. I apologize, I don't have my notes, and I've forgotten his call sign, but we do have a presenter from the Plano Amateur Radio Club who's going to be going over what this mode is and isn't and how it works, and showing us what software to use and sample QSOs. So it should be a fun program on a digital mode that's kind of sweeping the ham community. And pretty exciting. Again, that's this coming Tuesday at the Dallas Medical Center. The general meeting is at 7 p.m. on the 3rd floor of the main hospital building. I hope to see you there, and there's more information at W5FC.org. This is NT5TM.
Great. Thank you, Tony, for those announcements. Do we have anybody else that has any announcements that they would like to bring to this evening's net? So if so, please come now with your call. Okay, not hearing any, so I will bring some announcements. The AMSAT Radio Amateur Satellite Group has 2 nets available to Dallas residents on Tuesday evenings at 8 p.m. Central Time, and you will need Echolink installed and be registered. You can find the net under Groups and AMSAT. Also, a live audio link is available on their website at www.amsatnet.com, and this net originates in Houston, Texas. The Dallas AMSAT net, Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, is every Wednesday at 9 p.m. on the Arlington repeater, 147.140 megahertz, with a PL tone of 110.9 and a positive offset. The DARC also has several nets on Monday nights. First Monday of the month is Ham Fixin's net. So if you like to cook, eat, share recipes, have a food question, anecdote, want to share a recipe, bring it to Ham Fixin's net. On the second Monday is MCOM 101, Emergency Communications. Third Monday of the month is the second helping of Ham Fixin's net. And fourth Monday is GeekNet. If you have something geeky to share, it could be book, tech, movies, news of the weird, brain teasers, anything geeky, bring it and geek out on the GeekNet. And if there's ever a fifth Monday, usually it's a fifth Monday surprise net. We've done everything from Christmas Thunderdome, sharing best and worst Christmas presents of the season, to April Fool's Truth or Lies, to many, many rounds of Jeopardy. And I think there was even a create your own story where people volunteered segments and kind of created their own story on the air. So fifth Monday is always a pleasant surprise. Wednesdays, Veterans Net is first and third Wednesdays, 7 to 8 p.m. Central Time. And Saturdays is the Night of Nets with TechNet from 7 to 8 p.m. And, of course, at 9 p.m., Skynet. And the ARRL Net, National Traffic System Training Net, is every night at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. So all are welcome to check in on any or all of these nets. And as Tony mentioned, tonight at 10:30, following Skynet, is the Afterglow Movie Net. If you're not familiar with Afterglow, it is a blast. We pick a movie each week, take the week to watch it, and then come back the following Saturday and discuss it. We go through plot, characterization, special effects, music, and pretty much anything else related to the movie or general themes. You know, sometimes it sparks some very, very good discussion. And it's always a blast. So as Tony mentioned, tonight we're going to be discussing from the year 2000, Battlefield Earth, which takes place in the year 3000. Welcome to the year 3000, a nice and even year. It's not an awkward 1999 when moon bases are blasted into interstellar space, nor hopeful 21st century 2001, where mankind evolves into giant space babies. Nope, it's 3000 AD at 12 noon, and Earth is ruled by really tall people from the old 1970s TV shows. Welcome back. Join us for the Afterglow movie Battlefield Earth tonight at 10:30 p.m. You can keep up with all the DARC events, nets, and activities by going to the club website, W5FC.org. Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas events, where and when you can look through a telescope. Tonight's star party is at the Shores Park in Rockwall. I just want to give a shout out to them and see if there's anybody on frequency that would like to talk from the star party. This could be an amateur radio operator, and if they want to relay some third-party traffic, if we got some kiddos out there that want to talk on the air and tell us what they've been seeing, we can do some third-party traffic. So is there anybody from the Shores Park in Rockwall at the star party with some news on how the star party is going? If so, please come now with your call sign. I'm not hearing anybody. Is there anybody else on frequency that would like to give any information about the Texas Astronomical Society of Dallas? If so, please come now with your call sign.
KTX.
K5KTX. Good evening, Kelly. What announcements do you have for us this evening?
Thank you, Billy. This is K5KTX. The Texas Astronomical Society monthly meetings are held on the fourth Friday of every month except for November, when the meeting is on the third Friday due to Thanksgiving, and we usually don't have a meeting in December. The meetings are held at the University of Texas at Dallas campus in Richardson. The meeting begins at 7:30 p.m. in the Science Learning Center building, which is SLC, Sierra Lima Charlie, on the campus map. The best place to park is in Lot H, where we've been given permission to park in orange, gold, or green spaces after 5 o'clock p.m. You can park anywhere else as long as you choose a green space. Otherwise, you risk getting a ticket. The meeting includes programs presented by members or guest speakers and a slideshow of the current constellation of the month. So I attended the meeting last night. It was a wonderful meeting. Our speaker, we started at 7 o'clock with a beginner astronomy class, and Gary Carter got up and told us about some different apps that you can use to do astronomy. I think he pretty much focused all of his time on Sky Safari 6, which is a wonderful app. I use it all the time. I have it on pretty much both of my iPad and iPhone. And so that was some great information. I actually learned a few things from his presentation. And then also the president of TAS, Larry Ammon, was our speaker, and he talked about ways that we can measure the universe. And it was really interesting. He kind of started off with measuring just from Earth to the sun, and then he kind of went from there all the way out to the universe. And so it was very interesting. I don't know who our speaker is going to be next month, but next month's meeting will be on Friday, May the 25th. Again, the meeting starts at 7 o'clock for the, I believe it will be an orientation for new members at 7 o'clock, but it's still interesting if you're not a member. And then at 7:30 the meeting will begin. And also wanted to mention that last night's constellation was Centaurus. Yes. And which was very interesting. And, of course, we can't see a whole lot of that constellation from Dallas, but next week I'll be heading off to the Texas Star Party out in Fort Davis, which is much further south, and we can see quite a bit of that constellation, and so I'm looking forward to seeing some of those objects. The Texas Astronomical Society also hosts observing parties every Saturday night, and Billy mentioned the one that's tonight. We finally have clear skies, and so I'm sure they're having a great time out there tonight. But the star parties are Saturday nights, beginning at around sunset and finishing up sometimes around 10 o'clock, might be a little bit later. Each week is a different location for observing, so make sure you get the complete details for the Saturday night you wish to attend. If you go to texasastro.org, click on the calendar link up at the top, and you can get all of the information for all of our events. So the fourth Saturday, which is today, is always at the Shores Park in Rockwall, so they're still out there, I'm sure. And then coming up to the first Saturday, which will be at Spring Park in Garland. Second Saturday is at Frisco Commons Park in Frisco. And third Saturday is at Cedar Hill at the J.W. Williams Park. And again, if you go to texasastro.org, and you can get all the details for all of our events. And I think that's it. This is K5KTX. Back to you, Billy.
Great. Thank you very much, Kelly. And yes, the task meetings are always wonderful, very informative and fun. It's good camaraderie. And the star parties are great fun as well. The Shores Park is one of the nicest parks in Rockwall. They do a great job of keeping the light down. They turn the lights out at the park. So it is one of the darker star party sites. And it's lots of fun to go to a star party. You can see all different objects in different telescopes and ask members about their equipment and what they're seeing. It's really a lot of fun, very educational. And it's free. Can't beat it. So join us. And once again, I'll see if there's anybody on frequency at the Shores Park. If you're out there and would like to give a shout out to us and tell us what you're seeing tonight, we'd love to hear from you. So if there's anyone at Shores Park that wants to transmit, please come now with your call sign. Okay, not hearing anybody, so they probably are out there having fun all at the telescopes. All right, so we'll move on to our next segment. So this is KF5PDS. Billy, your net control for this evening's session of the DARC Skynet. All right, our next segment is a brand new segment, which is a great news segment of our program. We've got the National Space Society events and activities. N5BB, Bill, if you'd like to give us a rundown on what National Space Society is up to.
Very much, Billy. This is N5BB. A National Space Society member for the last couple of months. I don't have any really hot things to report except that the National Space Society will be, I got some general news items I'll say, but that's about it. National Space Society is going to have an event a week from today, Saturday, May the 5th, at the new Girl Scout STEM Center, which is located at 6010 Whispering Cedar Drive, Dallas 5236. This is on the same general vicinity as the Boy Scout facility at Camp Wisdom, but it's kind of on the other side of the hill. And they have a brand new STEM Scout facility, which is just getting ready to open up, and it's their grand opening next Saturday, May the 5th. And the National Space Society will be there at that event. I will probably be there with them. If anybody has any interest in that, they can discuss it with me, N5BB at ARRL.net. That's the only near-term event except for the National Space Society of North Texas monthly meeting. Their meetings are on the second Sunday of every month at 3:30 p.m. at the Spring Creek Barbecue in Irving at Beltline and 183 on the southwest corner across the street from Irving Mall. So that meeting will be Sunday, May the 13th. National Space Society of North Texas. The only other information, some other quick items, as far as Texas, the National Space Society chapters, which are in Texas, are the North Texas group, meeting in Irving every month. There's an Austin group, but they have no monthly meetings, so they just talk about things on email. There's the San Antonio group that also has an email address, but they have no a website, but they have no monthly meetings posted. And there's a Northern Houston group, which really isn't even on the main list. That's just starting up. And there's also a Clear Lake area, I should say, near NASA, Houston. And they meet the third Monday of every other month, the even-numbered months only. So I believe the National Space Society in North Texas is the only chapter in Texas that meets every month. Other news, 10 days ago or so, Representative Jim Brittenstein was approved as new NASA administrator. So there's now somebody officially in that position. And the the National Space Society International Space Development Conference is going to be in Los Angeles, May the 24th through 27th. And there's going to be all the normal players there involving SpaceX and Jeff Bezos and everybody else putting people into space. So Freeman Dyson will be there, Catherine Sullivan, former NOAA administrator and astronaut, and many, many other people. And Dr. Frank Drake will be there. This is N5BB. Thank you.
Wow, Bill, thanks a lot. Boy, what a star-studded list of notables there, pun intended, I guess. So thank you very much, and I look forward to future announcements and things with National Space Society. So congrats on becoming a new member of the society, and thank you for relaying the wonderful information that club has to offer. Sounds like a really great group, and really like that they, get together and discuss these things, and it sounds like wonderful events coming up. All right. So let me go ahead. The next item on our agenda is to have the NCS topic, which is my topic for this evening. This is KF5 PDS, net control for Skynet. Tonight I've chosen an article that I ran across discovermagazine.com. It's an article by Sarah Scholes from June 2015, but I'm sure it's still relevant. It is the 10 weirdest objects in the universe. So in a place as big as the universe, there's bound to be some weird stuff. In this article is presented the biggest, coldest, hottest, oldest, deadliest, loneliest, darkest, brightest, and more superlatives than the cosmos has to offer, ranging from right next door to the edge of the known universe. So first up is El Gordo, Spanish for the fat one. El Gordo is the most massive grouping of galaxies in the distant universe. It contains 3 million billion, but who's counting, times as much mass as the sun. El Gordo is located at 9.7 billion light years from us, which means it had already grown this large when the universe was just half its current age. Item number 2 is the Black Widow Pulsar. Pulsar J1311-3430 is a dangerous partner to have. It weighs as much as 2 suns, but is only as wide as Washington, D.C., and it's getting bigger by feeding off its mate, a normal star. The two pirouette around each other every 93 minutes in a deadly close dance. The pulsar's beam strips layers away from the star, which the pulsar then slurps up. That extra material gives the pulsar more energy, making it spin even faster, but leaving its partner depleted, so depleted that someday nothing will be left and the pulsar will dance with only itself. Item number 3 is 3753 Krunya. A year on this asteroid, 364 days, is almost exactly the same length as a year on Earth, meaning they both orbit the Sun at about the same distance. Nobody knew about our orbit twin until 1986, when Duncan Waldron discovered it. But don't worry about a collision. Krunya won't come closer than 7.5 million miles from Earth. If you want to run a cosmic 5K, though, you can do it across this rock's surface, which is 3.1 miles in diameter. And just out of interest, Krunya is the Gaelic name. It's the Celtic tribal group that was the first ones to appear in the British Isles. They're also known as the Picts. So I thought that was an interesting name for this object, 3753 Krunya. Item number 4 on the 10 weirdest items in the universe is Rogue Planet. Estranged from its parent star in sibling worlds, this rogue planet wanders the universe alone and dawnless, just 100 light years from where you sit, surrounded by your warm social group. Like us. CFB-DSIR 2149 was likely kicked out of its home solar system during turbulent formative years, when millions of such castaway planets exist. Item number 5 is Smith's Cloud. If your eyes could see radio waves, Smith's Cloud would show up 20 times as wide as the full moon in the night sky. This cloud of hydrogen gas has as much mass as 1 million stars, but that hydrogen spreads over an area 9,800 light years long by 3,300 light years wide. It looks like a torpedo, and that's a helpful way to think about it, too. It's headed for our galaxy and will crash into the Milky Way 27 million years from now. That infusion of high-velocity hydrogen could set off fireworks of star formation. Item number 6 is Galaxy X. 300,000 light years beyond the Milky Way orbits a satellite galaxy made almost entirely of dark matter and gas, with hardly any stars at all. Astronomers had suspected its existence for years, but it's hard to find dark galaxies in the darkness of space. In 2009, astronomers detected evidence of Galaxy X in the form of ghostly ripples in our own galaxy's disk. Then, this year, which was 2015, they managed to find 4 100-million-year-old stars hiding in this distant clump of dark matter. This image shows dark matter satellite galaxies around our Milky Way galaxy. Item number 7 on our 10 weirdest list is HD 189733b. This planet's blue hue might call to mind peaceful oceans and pleasant summer days, but don't be fooled. It's a huge gas giant orbiting close to its star, which makes it a hellish place to live for a few reasons. Number 1, no oceans exist ever. Also, the temperature rockets as high as 1,700 degrees Fahrenheit. And thirdly, the apparent azure sky actually comes from a deadly weather pattern, a rain made of molten glass. Item number 8 is the biggest old black hole. When the universe was just 875 million years old, a mere babe, A black hole with a mass of 12 billion suns had already formed. For reference, the one at the center of the Milky Way is just 4 million times the sun's mass. Supermassive J0100 plus 2802 sits at the center of an active galaxy called a quasar, 12.8 billion light years away. But how could something become so big at such a young age? Astronomers are still working that out. Number 9 is R136A1. This star is 256 times as massive as our sun, and it shines 7.4 million times as brightly. In other words, it's a behemoth. Scientists believe stars this colossal can only form when multiple smaller stars merge into each other, forming fiery chimera that live for only a few million years before they burn themselves out.
Yeah, 6 Delta Q.
And number 10 on our 10 weirdest objects in the universe list, last but certainly not least, the Boomerang Nebula. Pack a jacket before taking the 5,000 light-year trip to the Boomerang Nebula. This is the coldest thing in the universe. Inside this cloud of gas and dust, cast off from a dying sun-sized star, the mercury rises to just negative 458 degrees Fahrenheit. The cloud is expanding at around 367,000 miles per hour, or 10 times as fast as the fastest man-made object in the universe, the New Horizons spacecraft, is traveling. That expansion chills the nebula's gas in the same way that ballooning tetrafluoroethane cools your refrigerator. So there is the article from discovermagazine.com, the 10 weirdest objects in the universe. Our universe is a strange and wonderful place. So if you want to look that article up, just Google 10 weirdest objects in the universe, discovermagazine.com, and go get the names of those objects, and feel free to explore each of them on your own. So this is KFI PDS, Net Control for this evening's session of the DARC Skynet. So at this time, I'd like to call on my alternate net control, Tom, KE5ICX, and you'll see if we have an additional check-ins, and then if you'll give us the report about what we can see in the sky over the next couple of weeks.
All right, thank you. Very good. This is Billye. This is KE5ICX. I'm alternate net control this evening. I will acknowledge N5OF Clay over on Echolink. I'll go ahead and take RF check-ins. Anyone who would like to join us this evening, please come now with your call sign name where you're transmitting from.
Oh, Foxtrot 5, Oscar, Victor, Papa, Eric, Denton.
6 LZQ in North Dallas.
All right, let me get those two. KF5, Oscar, and I don't know, is it Victor, Papa, Eric? Over in Denton, I'm sorry, I can't read my own handwriting.
Kilo Foxtrot 5 Oscar Victor Papa OVP, Eric Denton.
All right, KF5 OVP. Eric and Denton, my lazy handwriting, and KI6LZQ. I think that's Michael over in North Dallas. Let's see. I'll go ahead and ask anybody over on Echolink. Let me know. I'll check you in. Please come out.
W6EQ, Oroville, California.
Very good. I have W6EQ. That's Dan over in Oroville, California. Welcome. I think this is your first time here on the net. We meet every Saturday night at 9 p.m. Central Time, so you get in a little earlier, I guess around 7. Very good. Okay. What you can see in the sky this week and this evening. This is what we have from earthsky.org. /tonight. You can go ahead and go to the same website, get the same information not only for tonight but subsequent nights throughout the week. This is what we have. If you are listening in, you can also find the links over on W5FC.org. Tonight, you should look at the, let's see, East Nightfall early evenings is the map that you want to look at, or the drawing, I guess, and this is what it says here. The next several evenings, April 28th through 30th, watch for the brilliant star close to the very bright moon. It's no star at all. It's the giant planet Jupiter, largest in the world and our largest world in our solar system. Boy, here we go. On April 30th, the moon will even be closer. With or without the moon, you'll find Jupiter climbing into the evening sky about an hour after sunset. This planet will soon reach its yearly opposition when Earth will fly between Jupiter and the Sun, gaining a lap on the planet for this year. Jupiter's opposition will come on May 9th, 2018. Opposition, Jupiter will rise in the east as the sun sets in the west. It'll be an all night from dusk until dawn. Since we'll be generally closest to it, it will be the best time to observe Jupiter with a telescope. Even good quality steadily held binoculars should give you a glimpse of the ever-changing dance of Jupiter's moons. Last thing, it's fun to stand outside in a fairly level spot where you can see the horizons and watch Jupiter and Venus in late April 2018. As the Earth spins under the sky, Venus is now descending into the west as Jupiter ascends in the east. Around now, if you have an unobstructed view of the sky, you should easily see the sky's two brightest planets, Venus in the west and Jupiter in the east, as night falls. From the U.S. Naval Observatory, of course, they put these out, I think it's Monday of each week, so here's some of the stuff from earlier this week, as well as what to expect for the rest of the week. It says the moon returns to the evening sky this week, waxing through her crescent phases as she wends her way through the setting winter constellation. First quarter occurs on the 22nd at 5:46 Eastern Daylight. Luna begins the week in the company of bright Venus in the fading evening twilight of the 17th. The following evening, she may be found to the west of the bright star Aldebaran and Taurus. If you look at her with binoculars, you'll find her embedded in the V-shaped Hyades star cluster. Another binocular target is flanked by the moon on the evening of the 21st. Take your binoculars and look just to the left of the moon for the Beehive star cluster. To round out the week, Luna will cozy up to the bright star Regulus and the constellation Leo the Lion. The evening twilight sky is where you'll find the bright glow of Venus, which should appear shortly after local sunset. As the sky darkens, she dominates the sky, and by the end of the week, sets around 10 p.m. She receives a visit from the slender crescent moon on the evening of the 17th, which should provide a fine photo opportunity. Jupiter continues to make inroads into the evening sky. This week, the giant planet rises before 9:30 and should be easy to spot in the southeast by 11 p.m. Old Jove is slowly creeping westward among the stars as the obscure constellation Libra the Scales, inching towards the star Zebne Janubi. I will figure that out someday. Southernmost of the constellation's two brightest stars. Jupiter will reach opposition in a few more weeks, at which time he'll be visible all night. Saturn is located near the top of the Teapot asterism in the constellation Sagittarius. It will stay in this general area for the next few months. Just below Saturn, you'll find a small fuzzy patch of light in your binoculars. A modest telescope will reveal a swarm of countless faint stars that form the globular cluster of Messier 22, one of the finest objects of its type in the heavens. Finally, Mars is now well east of Saturn, and he will move another several degrees further eastward this week. Earth is closing in on the red planet as we prepare for his opposition in July. Mars' disk is now growing, and this week crosses the 10 arcsecond apparent diameter threshold. This is when owners of modest telescopes should be able to start seeing details on the planet's distant surface. And that is it from me. Back to you, Miss Billye. This is KE5ICX.
Okay, great, Tom. Thank you very much. This is KF5PDS, your net control for this session of the DARC Skynet. Okay, so next up is our featured constellation. So at this time, I'll remind you that you can go to W5FC.org to look along with the sky maps, notes, and images posted on the website. And at this time, I'll turn the net over to Miss Carolyn, KC50ZT. The net is yours.
Okay, thank you, Billye. And tonight we're going to look at a small constellation, the 38th largest in the sky, Canis Venatici. It was introduced by Johann Hevelius, and there was a little area under the tail of Ursa Major, so he created this constellation from the faint stars under the tail. And it means the hunting dogs, by the way. And it's sort of an odd way that it got its name. In the Middle Ages, it was identified with two dogs held on a leash by, of course, the constellation Boötis, the herdsman. And it was a crazy way that it got this name. There was a mistake in the translation of the Greek Ptolemy's book, the Almagest, when they translated it to Arabic. Ptolemy had some of the stars in Boötis, along in this area, representing the herdsman's club. Translator loosely translated this word as the spear shaft with a hook. And when the Arabic phrase he used was later translated to Latin, I'm not sure how many years later this was, translator made a mistake and translated as the word dogs. Therefore, Venatici was depicted with two dogs in 1533 on a German map. So Billye decided to go along with this, and he named the northern dog Asterion, or Little Star. That's Alpha. And the southern one, Chara. That's Beta, which means joy in Greek. Now the Alpha, the brightest star, has a name, Cor Caroli, meaning Charles Hart, named to honor Charles I. He was a king executed after the English Civil War, and his son, Charles II, was restored to the throne shortly after. The Corcaroli is a binary, and the brighter component is very peculiar chemically. It shows an overabundance of certain metals, has an unusually strong magnetic field, 5,000 times as strong as the Earth's. And its atmosphere has europium, mercury, and silicon in a large proportion. It's a prototype of a variable star class, notable for strong magnetic fields. These are believed to produce enormous star spots, which cause the luminosity to vary during the star's rotation. Now, Alpha is part of an asterism called the Great Diamond, or the Diamond of Virgo. And the other stars in this asterism, some of them we've already covered, some we haven't yet, but these four are Denebula in Leo, Spica in Virgo, Arcturus in Boötis. And the other dog, Beta, or Chara, is the second brightest star, magnitude 4.2. It's a G-type star. And the name means joy in Greek, but it was used for the southern dog. Those are the two main stars in this constellation, but there's another one that people love, Gamma. This goes for the name La Superba, well known, one of the reddest stars in the sky. It got its name because of its striking appearance. It's believed to be in the last stages of fusing helium into carbon, losing mass at a fast rate, and surrounded by a disk of ejected material. They figure it will soon finish out and form a nebula and become a white dwarf. And moving on, for a little constellation, it has quite a few deep sky objects. The first one we'll look at is M3, magnitude 6.2, one of the largest, brightest globular clusters known. They figure it was about 500,000 stars. They estimate its age at 8 billion years. Next object is also one of the favorite of amateurs, M51, the Whirlpool galaxy. One of the best known. It's a spiral galaxy, and it's pretty close, only about 31 million light years from the Milky Way. And it's known as M51A because it is interacting with another galaxy, M51B, a dwarf galaxy, and they're connected actually by a tidal bridge full of interstellar dust. You can see that silhouetted against the center of the dwarf galaxy. And of course, this highly distorts M51b, this interaction. Overall, the whirlpool at magnitude 8.4 can even be seen with binoculars along with its companion. And it never sets for observers north of 43 degrees. Well, that's quite a bit north of here. But it's easy to find. You go to the tail of Ursa Major and then move 3.5 degrees southeast from Alkaid in Ursa Major. That's in the tip of the tail. And you make her go right down. It's easy to find. And it's the brightest galaxy, as if that wasn't enough, in the M51 group. There's a group of galaxies that includes these two. And then our next one, M63, the Sunflower. And also some NGC numbers, 5023, 5229. Some UGC numbers, 8313, 8331. So it's a whole group. And one of that group is our next object, M63, the Sunflower Galaxy, and the second brightest member of that group. It's a spiral galaxy, magnitude 9.3, and worth keeping an eye on. Supernova was in it in 1971. And now we have, guess what? Another spiral galaxy, M94. Magnitude 8.9, and actually is notable for its two-ring structures. And this has an inner ring, the starburst ring, where there's strong star formation activity. And then it also has an outer ring. It's not closed, but it has a complex structure of spiral arms. And that wasn't enough. Groups of galaxies, M94 is one of the brightest galaxies in a group named for it, the M94 group, which contains 16 to 24 galaxies lying within what's called the Virgo supercluster. We have a magnitude 9.1 galaxy, M106. And this is a spiral. It has unusual emission lines and emits X-rays. So they suspect that a part of it is falling into a supermassive black hole at its core. Our next one is NGC 4631, and it goes by the name the Whale Galaxy. It's an Edgyon spiral galaxy at magnitude 9.8. It was nicknamed the Whale because its slightly distorted shape resembles a whale. It's also notable for a central starburst region and a lot of star formation. which results in X-ray and spectral line emission. There's a giant corona of X-ray emitting gas surrounding the entire galaxy. We also have a NGC 5033, another spiral, magnitude 10.8. It has a bright nucleus and a relatively faint disk, and they believe the nucleus contains a supermassive black hole, and because this nucleus doesn't lie at the galaxy's center around which the stars rotate, and they possibly this merged with another galaxy. It's located close to another spiral, but NGC 5005, which also has a bright nucleus and a bright disk. These two are a physical pair and influence each other a little, but they're distant enough not to be distorted by the tidal forces. And finally, we have two more acting galaxies. They're pretty faint, though, at magnitude 11. They're known as the hockey stick galaxies. And they have NGC numbers 4656 and 4657, which is sometimes known as the crowbar galaxy. I'm not sure why. But they're little dogs, faint constellation. But there's a lot to be seen in there, and a lot of it in the range of amateur scopes. So take a visit to this and visit the little dogs, and I know you'll be pleased. Unless there's any questions, Billy, I'll turn it back to you. H50ZT.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Carolyn. Does anyone have any questions for Carolyn before we move on to our next segment? If so, please come now with your call sign. Okay, not hearing any. So this is KF5PDS, your net control for Skynet. So next segment is recent astronomical discoveries. So at this time, I will turn the net over to Brenda, WB5OZL. The net is yours.
Oh, thanks. First article is entitled Assembly of Massive Galaxy Cluster Witnessed for the First Time. For the first time, astronomers have witnessed the birth of a colossal cluster of galaxies. Their observations reveal that at least 14 galaxies packed into an area only 4 times the diameter of the Milky Way, of the Milky Way's galactic disk. Computer simulations of the galaxies predict that over time the cluster will assemble into one of the most massive structures in the modern universe. Galaxies within the cluster are churning out stars at an incredible pace, ranging from 50 to 1,000 times the Milky Way's star formation rate. These rates are higher than can be explained for solitary galaxies, suggesting that the galaxies are influencing one another and are actively assembling into a cluster. More so than any other candidate discovered to date, it seems like we're catching a cluster in the process of being assembled, says study co-author Chris Hayward, an associate research scientist at the Center for Computational Astrophysics at the Flatiron Institute in New York City. This is the missing link in our understanding of how clusters form. Clusters are the largest structures held together by gravity in the present-day universe and contain hundreds or even thousands of galaxies. Clusters grow over time as gravity draws in more material. This newborn galaxy cluster, or protocluster, is around 12.4 billion light years away from Earth. That distance means that the protocluster appears today as it existed 1.4 billion years after the Big Bang. How the assembly of galaxies got so big so fast is a bit of a mystery, says study co-author Scott Chapman, the Kellum professor in astrophysics at Dalhousie University in Halifax, Canada. It wasn't built up gradually over billions of years, as you might expect. Chapman, Hayward, Tim Miller of Yale University and collaborators spotted the protocluster during a follow-up to a survey conducted using the South Pole Telescope in Antarctica. That undertaking inspected around 6% of the sky, but with relatively coarse resolution. In these observations, the protocluster was the brightest light source not magnified by the effect of a massive object's gravity, which bends light like a lens. While bright, the source just looked like a fuzzy blob composed of at least 3 galaxies. An additional study of the Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile provided clarity and a surprise. It just hit you in the face because all of a sudden there were all these galaxies there, Chapman says. We went from 3 to 14 in one fell swoop. It instantly became obvious that this was an interesting, massive structure forming and not just a flash in the pan. Move on to the next article because we're running kind of late tonight. Projectile cannon experiments show how asteroids can deliver water. Experiments using a high-powered projectile cannon show how impacts of water-rich asteroids can deliver surprising amounts of water to planetary bodies. The research by scientists from Brown University could shed light on how water got to the early Earth and help account for more trace water detections on the Moon and elsewhere. The origin and transportation of water and volatiles is one of the big questions in planetary science, said Tarek Daly, a postdoctoral researcher at Johns Hopkins University, who led the research while completing his PhD at Brown. These experiments reveal a mechanism by which asteroids could deliver water to moons, planets, and other asteroids. It's a process that started while the solar system was forming and continues to operate today. The source of Earth's water remains something of a mystery. It was long thought that the planets of the inner solar system formed bone dry and that water was delivered later by icy comet impacts. While that idea remains a possibility, isotopic measurements have shown that Earth's water is similar to water bound up in carbonaceous asteroids. That suggests asteroids could also have been a source for Earth's water. But how such delivery might have worked isn't well understood. Results tell us that impactors should completely devolatilize at many of the impact speeds common in the solar system, meaning all the water they contain just boils off in the heat of the impact, said Pete Schultz, co-author of the paper and a professor in Brown's Department of Earth, Environmental and Planetary Sciences. But nature has a tendency to be more interesting than our models, which is why we need to do experiments. Well, I think I'm out of time. Both of these are at ScienceDaily.com, and you can go to the link on our website. Back to that, WB5OZL.
AG5PC Mobile.
Okay, thank you, Brenda. And so last up, we'll skip satellite passages for tonight since we're running a bit close to time. So last is space exploration and space history. So at this time, I'll turn the net over to Kelly, K5KTX. The net is yours.
Thank you, Billye. This is K5KTX, and I'm going to skip my the first item I was going to bring to you, and you can get this information off of NASA.gov, and it's just some information about a major upgrade to the communication system for the International Space Station. This is for emergency communications, and they're replacing the some ground antennas, and so you might want to take a look at that since most everybody here is an amateur radio. You might find this interesting because they talk about both the Russian Soyuz and the International Space Station itself, and about that the other one, the radio system. But I wanted to get to the second article, so let the jokes and puns begin. Even after decades of observations and a visit by NASA's Voyager 2 spacecraft, you're on to one critical secret to composition of its clouds. Now, one of the key components of the planet's clouds has finally been verified. A global research team that includes Glenn Orton of NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Pasadena, California, has spectroscopically dissected the infrared light from Uranus captured by the 26.25-foot Gemini North telescope on Hawaii's Mauna Kea. They found hydrogen sulfide, the odoriferous gas that most people avoid in Uranus's cloud tops. The long-sought evidence was published in the April 23rd issue of the journal Nature Astronomy. The detection of hydrogen sulfide high in Uranus's cloud deck, and presumably Neptune, is a striking difference between the gas giant planets located closer to the Sun, Jupiter and Saturn, where ammonia is observed above the clouds, but no hydrogen sulfide. These differences in atmospheric composition shed light on questions about the planet's formation and history. We've strongly suspected that hydrogen sulfide gas was influencing the millimeter and radio spectrum of Uranus for some time, but we were unable to attribute the absorption needed to identify it positively. Now, that part of the puzzle is falling into place, as Morton said. The Gemini data obtained with the Near-Infrared Integral Field Spectrometer, or NIFS, sampled reflected sunlight from a region immediately above the main visible cloud layer in Uranus's atmosphere. While the lines we were detect were just barely there, we were able to detect them unambiguously thanks to the sensitivity of NIFS on Gemini, combined with the exquisite conditions on Mauna Kea, said lead author Patrick Uren of the University of Oxford, UK. No worries, though, that the odor of hydrogen sulfide would overtake human senses. According to Irwin, suffocation and exposure in the minus 328 degrees Fahrenheit atmosphere, made of mostly hydrogen, helium, and methane, would take its toll long before the smell. And in space history this week, beginning with April the 24th, big day in space history. Back in 1990, STS-31 Discovery Space Shuttle launched on the Hubble Space Telescope deployment mission. The pilot on that mission was astronaut Charlie Bolden, who served as NASA's administrator from 2009 to 2017. Bold promises were made about the potential of the Hubble to peer into the depths of space. However, in the weeks after deployment, the Hubble team detected a big problem. Hubble's primary mirror was too shallow towards its outer edges by about 2 microns, a fraction of the width of a human hair. Nevertheless, this slight defect prevented Hubble from achieving the crisp images that were promised. After careful research and exacting preparation, another shuttle mission was launched to repair and improve the telescope. STS-61 was launched December 2nd, 1993, on one of the most complex missions in the program. The first images were received from the newly serviced Hubble on December 18, 1993, and the results were perfect, a crystal clear image of a star. Thanks to this ingenious repair, and several more that followed, Hubble continues to relay miraculous images of the depths of space. In fact, for this 28th anniversary, NASA has released a brand new image that you need to go see out on the it's the Lagoon Nebula, and you can go see it at nasa.gov. Also, just this week, they announced that one of the 6 gyros on the telescope has discontinued working So they still have, believe they have 4 good ones. They can go all the way down to 1. So we should have the telescope hopefully working for a long time. 25th, back in 1972, astronaut Ken Mattingly performed a deep space extravehicular activity, or EVA, to retrieve film from the Apollo 16 service module while they were en route back to Earth. Mattingly's EVA was one of only 3 deep space EVAs to have taken place so far, not including lunar surface EVAs. The other 2 deep space EVAs were carried out in the same fashion for the same purpose on Apollo 15 and Apollo 17. All 3 EVAs occurred after the engine burn that flung the astronauts back towards the Earth and after the lunar module was jettisoned. To perform the EVA, the command module had to be depressurized, and therefore all 3 astronauts had to be wearing their spacesuits. Additionally, the astronauts remained attached to the command module's life support system by umbilicals. They did not use self-contained primary life support systems. In the coming decades, we may see a shift in the meaning of the term deep space EVA. After all, our current standard for deep space is no farther than the moon, mighty close by astronomical standards. April the 26th, 1971. Until this day, the crews of Apollo moon missions had to spend 3 weeks in quarantine after returning to the Earth. Why? For fear of lunar pathogens, or moon germs. After Apollo 14, when it was proven that the moon was void of life, then Administrator George Low canceled the quarantine. After that, when astronauts returned to the Earth, they could exit their landing capsules into the fresh Pacific Ocean air. Also on April the 26th, back in 1998, 20 years ago, Cassini made his first flyby of Venus. The flyby gave the spacecraft a boost in speed that would help it on its trajectory to Saturn. But another flyby of Venus and the Earth in 1999, plus a gravity assist from Jupiter in 2000, were needed to get Cassini to Saturn in summer of 2004. On September 15th of last year, Cassini ended the mission, which began in October 1997. Over the course of nearly 20 years, the spacecraft explored Saturn and its moons and the other parts of our solar system along the way. On April the 27th, 1961, Explorer 11 launched as the first gamma-ray detecting satellite. Gamma radiation makes up the highest energy or shortest wavelength portion of the electromagnetic spectrum. Gamma rays are far outside of the visible spectrum and are highly harmful to human tissue. Explorer 11, by detecting gamma rays, gave us a new perspective of the universe, a perspective not achievable with the human eye. And finally, also on April the 27th, 1972, the Apollo 16 command module, call sign Casper, touched down in the Pacific Ocean. On board were John Young, Ken Mattingly, and Charlie Duke. A helicopter from the recovery ship USS Ticonderoga picked up the crewmen. Also on board Casper, 209 pounds of rocks and soil from the moon. And that's all I've got. This is K5 KTX. Back to you, Billy.
Great, thank you very much, Kelly. It's always interesting to hear what the space history is, and it's wonderful times. All right, so we're short on time, so we're not going to be able to get to satellite passages, but just some quick information. If you want to check that out for yourself, go to heavens-above.com, and you can put in your location, and you can see when there's ISS flybys and look up other information on satellite passages over the coming days from your location. All right, at this time I'll turn the net over to Tom, KE5ICX, if you'll see if we have any final check-ins, and give me a count for this evening's net.
KE5ICX, I'm alternate net control this evening for tonight's Skynet. I'll go ahead and take additional check-ins, RF. Please come now. Your call sign name, where you're transmitting from. I'll put you on the list. None. Anyone over on Echolink? I think we got you all checked in, but if not, Come now. I show 29 check-ins this evening. Back to net control. This is KE5ICX.
All right, copy that. Tonight we had 29 hams participating on the air, so thank you to all who checked in this evening. We hope you'll join us here next week and every Saturday night at 9 p.m. to discuss astronomy, space, and space exploration. On this net, the sky is never the limit. We're always looking for net control stations for this and all the other DARC nets. If you would like to try your hand at this, contact any of the net controls by sending an email to nets@w5fc.org. You can follow topics and discussion about this net and astronomy in general on Facebook and Twitter, as well as our audio and video streams, video archives, and other useful internet resources by going to w5fc.org at the conclusion of this net. So until next Saturday night, this is KF5PDS, Billye, and I'll be closing the net at 22:32 local time and returning the repeater to normal amateur use. So 7-3, everybody, and enjoy the evening discovering the universe. And remember, we have Afterglow Movie Net coming up probably in about 5 minutes to discuss Battlefield Earth. So 7-3, everyone.
This is N5H4P, just testing my crossband. How good's my signal?
Sound cross. No, you sound crossband. It's fine. A little bit of noise, about 20% maybe. KE5ICX.
Thanks, Tom. I am running at the very bottom of my power scale, so talk to you soon.
Okey-doke, we're about 3 minutes away. So if you weren't crossed before, you will be after this discussion. KE5ICX.
One need to use the repeater before we start the net. V5OZL, and we are starting the Afterglow net now. This is the weekly net every Saturday night at about 10:30ish, where we discuss a movie that we have seen during the week, mostly science fiction. So I think they've all been science fiction. And tonight we have a rare treat, the best movie ever made, Battlefield Earth. So I'm going to turn this over to my cohort, KE5ICX, and he's going to give us a synopsis of this fine film. Go ahead, Tom.
Well, thank you, Miss Brenda. This is KE5ICX, and where do I begin? Well, let's go to Wiki and find out. Oh, it says Wiki 0, whatever that means. Okay. All right. Battlefield Earth. It's also referred to as Battlefield Earth, a saga of the year 3000, is a 2000 American science fiction film based upon the first half of L. Ron Hubbard's 1982 novel of the same name, directed by Roger Christian and starring John Travolta, Barry Pepper, and Forrest Whitaker. Yeah, that Forrest Whitaker. The film depicts an Earth that has been under the rule of the alien Cyclos. Rearrange the letters, you got it figured out. For 1,000 years, and tells the story of a rebellion that develops when the Cyclos attempt to use the surviving humans as gold miners. Not gold diggers, gold miners. True. It says here that Travolta, a longtime Scientologist, sought for many years to make a film of the novel by Hubbard. He was unable to obtain funding from any major studio due to concerns about the film's script, prospects, connections with Scientology. Okay, I won't go there because we don't want to go there. The film was released in May of 2000. It was an immediate critical and commercial failure, and there's a link to that. Frequently described as one of the worst films of all time. Subnotes 5, 6, 7, 8. Apparently there's a lot of subnotes on worst films of all time. Reviewers criticized virtually every aspect of the production, including Travolta's acting, overuse of angled shots, slow motion, poor script, mediocre special effects, several plot holes, and narrative inconsistencies, art direction, and dialogue. That's pretty much a film, isn't it? Audiences were reported to have ridiculed early screenings and stayed away from the film after its opening weekend, and which led to Battlefield Earth failing to recoup its costs. The film went on to receive a total of 8 Golden Raspberry Awards, which until 2012 was the most Razzie Awards given to a single film, additionally winning Worst Picture of the Decade in 2010. It has since become a cult film, and it is so bad that it's good fame. Travolta originally envisioned Battlefield Earth as the first of 2 films to be adapted from the book, as the screenplay only covered the first half of the novel. However, the film's poor box office performance, as well as the collapse of franchise pictures, well-deserved, ended plans for the sequel. On to the plot, and I won't go too long. In the year 3000, Earth is a desolate wasteland. The Cyclos, a brutal race of giant humanoid aliens, have ruled the planet for 1,000 years and use human slave labor to strip its minerals and other resources. Few primitive hunter-gatherer tribes of humans live in the freedom in remote hidden areas, but after 10 centuries of Cyclo oppression, they have abandoned any hope of regaining any control of the planet. Let's see, Johnny Goodboy Tyler, yeah, that's his name, rejects the universal hopelessness and leaves his tribe in the Rocky Mountain High Mountains on a journey of exploration with nomad, not the robot, named Carlo. Both are captured by the Cyclo raiding party and transported to the slave camp in the ruins of Denver, Colorado. I think that's Colorado Springs, actually. The Cyclo's principal base of operations, massive dome over the base, protects the Cyclos from Earth's atmosphere, which is toxic to them, as well as good plot and acting. Ah, well, I won't go on with the rest of it because what's the point? Fort Knox is a part of this. There's a bar in it. There's a lot of shop talk at the work and home office. Plenty more to talk about. So I'm going to stop now because, golly, where does one end when you don't know where it begins? This is KE5 ICX back to net control.
Thank you, Tom. Okay, let's take check-ins. What's your name and your call sign? Well, your call sign, your name, location, and whether or not you saw the movie. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean you can't put any 2 cents worth. So come on and join the discussion anyway. Let's start with low power and short time. Please come now.
Tango Mike, Tony, low power portable in Dallas. I saw it opening weekend and for safety reasons have not watched it since.
Let's take regular check-ins. Go ahead.
November 5, Hotel Yankee Papa, Tom and Irving. We saw it. I'm not sure what we saw, but we saw it.
Charlie 5, Oscar Zulu Tango, Carolyn in Louisville, and I didn't see it. H5OZ2.
Kilo, Foxtrot 5, Tango, Sierra Kilo, Pearl in Dallas. I did see the movie.
Echo 5, India Charlie X-Ray, yes. Tom in Louisville, I saw the movie.
November Tango 5, Tango Mike, Tony in Dallas. Did see the movie, don't know if I made it in the low power round or not. Still low power portable. This is Whiskey 5, Echo Bravo Bravo, David in Dallas. I saw the movie, but it was so long ago, I will refrain from commenting. W5EVB.
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Golf Hotel. This is Nick Delton. I saw the movie years ago as well.
Okay, my apologies, Tony. I forgot to come back. I wrote it down and then just moved on. So at NT5TM, we have Tony, who saw the movie. N5HYP, Tom. He and his bunch saw it. KC5OZT, Carolyn, who didn't see it. KF5TSK, Burl, yes. KE5ICX, Tom, yes. W5EBB, David, yes. And then I missed the next call. You're a little scratchy. It started with KG5. Would you please come back with that?
Kilo Golf 5, Whiskey Golf Hotel. Nick.
And KG5 Whiskey Golf Hotel, and I missed the name. Was it Nick?
That is correct. It's Nick in Carrollton.
Excellent. Did you see the movie?
I saw it years ago. I have some vague recollections. I remember probably not wanting to watch it again.
Alrighty, let's have some Echolink check-ins if we have any. Please go ahead.
Kilo Foxtrot 5, Papa Delta Sierra, Billye and Sherman, and yes, I saw the film.
Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Lima Mike in Fort Worth, and I have not seen the movie. This is Hector.
Okay, KF5PDS Billye, who did see the movie. The next call, I got Zulu Lima Mike is all I picked up. Could you come back with a full call and your name, please?
That is Kilo Golf 5, Zulu Lima Mike, Hector, and I did not see the movie.
Hector, welcome to the net. Okay, anybody else from with any mode, please come now. Okay, well, let's just jump in. We're going to talk about the plot first. So NT5TM, Tony, you get first crack at it. Go ahead.
Hey, good boy, Tyler, conqueror of the Cyclos. Well, I'd like to set the scene here for everyone briefly. I went to see this movie with a huge group of high school and college chums. We all knew that they were going to either make a silk purse out of a Salzier or make a Salzier out of a silk purse. Could they save it? Could they make something fun? I mean, we filled up a row of seats at the UA Galaxy. We came in a huge group. Of the movie starting, we were all throwing popcorn at the screen. Now, it was a very good-natured crowd. No one was throwing buttered popcorn. We didn't want to start a fight or have it stick in anyone's hair, but people were throwing popcorn and whooping and clapping and calling out corrections and shouting quotes from the book. Everyone knew what kind of movie this was within a few minutes. And the plot was a big contributor to that wonderful sense of the ridiculous. Surefire cure for insomnia. Whatever your troubles are, if you read the book, it will distract you from them because it's just so bad. You'll keep wanting to fix it. For all of my objections to the plot in order, the biggest one was just that it was ridiculously implausible. The book depended on, Tommy guns that were 1,000 years old and nuclear weapons that had been given no maintenance and no tritium and no polonium initiators and no batteries for 1,000 years, all still working. And the movie had the same problem. When the Earthlings had to rise up against the aliens, they depended on things like working jet fighters. Because, there's no better way to keep an F-16 in flying order than to park it in the open for 1,000 years. That always works. The best way to summarize the plot was hilarious in not in an intentional way. NT5TM. It was great for throwing popcorn.
I'm kind of glad I did not see or read the book. I don't think I could have stood that. I used to read a lot of science fiction, but never read any of that stuff. So anyway, yeah, this is one of my pet peeves. This is 1,000-year-old stuff. They had these ancient carriers. They learned to fly them. Somehow they had fuel that was still good after 1,000 years, and they still flew. And I can tell you, as someone that works at a museum, that rubber is the hardest thing in the world to conserve, particularly when you're talking about military things. It really doesn't last more than a few decades. All the stuff from World War II now is totally falling apart. Your helmets and goggles and gaskets and things like that. So this is just utterly ridiculous that these people didn't know anything, and it would have been so easy to find somebody that knew enough that they would not be embarrassed, but they didn't. Okay, next on the list, N5HYP, Tom, go ahead, plot.
This is N5HYP. Swiss cheese would look extremely solid compared to this particular movie. Based on the amount of holes and the amount of just bizarre things. At the beginning they spent an awful lot of time very melodramatically explaining the situation, the current situation of life. At the beginning, they have this kind of scene where these people are this guy is retelling the story, and he's just all dramatic, and every time he throws up the word demon, it gets real loud and noisy and all that stuff. It's just kind of bizarre the way they do that. A good story will kind of lead you into realizing what's going on without forcing it down your throat. But this one wasn't a good story, and that was but it also felt like stuff was missing there as well. My daughter Anna's comment was, it feels like I came into a movie in the middle, and I don't have any clue of what happened before, even after they told me. And just other strange parts of it. Now, Holly did admit that over time the story did kind of grow on you a little bit. I could see why when Tony saw this back in 2000 that everybody was throwing popcorn at the screen, because ultimately it just was a extremely bad implementation of probably an extremely bad story. That's why L. Ron Hubbard is making his money on other things. Back to Nat from N5HYP.
Right, yeah, they spent $73 million and made back 30. Huge losses. And John Travolta put a bunch of millions of his own money in it to try and save it. However, I think I read somewhere that L. Ron Hubbard, when he died, was worth like $600 million. And net worth $600 million. Well, he didn't make it off this movie. I think he made it off the schmucks that bought it. Wait, I didn't say that out loud. Moving on. Let's see. KC5OZT. Carolyn, I know you didn't see it, but do you have any comments?
I looked at the Wikipedia article just to see what the plot was about, and it seemed to, make me want to go see the movie. That's the best way to put it. KH5OZT.
Okay. KFRTSK Burl, go ahead.
Well, this was a bad plot. You know, there were things about the movie that were just so inconsistent. I couldn't understand, you know, I guess that apparatus in their nose would help them breathe, and sometimes, you know, all the prisoners would be together, and one set would have on the apparatus and one wouldn't, and it wouldn't be bothering. It was like, well, what does this mean? You know, what was really going on? What was unbreathable by the aliens or the captives? You know, so many things about the aircraft were loaded. They already had the bombs and rockets already put on them. They're already fueled. You know, I've seen Air Force trying to get a plane ready, and they've got a book that's, you know, 12 inches thick, you know, that they're, you know, going through the procedures, and all of a sudden these guys do it in 1 week. KF5TSK back to net.
Alrighty, KE5ICX. You probably don't have any opinions, but go ahead.
Oh, where does one begin on this fine film? Well, as far as the plot is concerned, I'm going to tell you something. This movie reminded me of Office Space. Office Space. You're like, really? Yes. Office Space. Office Outer Space. That's what it felt to me. Because all the scenes involved either them, the cyclo sitting at the bar, talking about how tough it is to get things done with a bunch of slaves that don't pay attention and don't care and don't seem to be caught up in what they're doing. Don't we all have that feeling at times, from time to time? Yeah, we do. Then you got the whole thing where, let's see, Forrest Whitaker, how he got caught in this, I don't know. I hope they gave him a lot of money. And John Danson Travolta talking about them working with each other, and don't worry, I'm not going to backstab you, and then he does. And then, who knows, before it's all over, we decapitate the bartender who hears all the stories. I'm sorry, this was a comedy. Office Space, the whole thing. The only thing missing was the, move the 1 cent over, the half a cent over into the account like in Superman 4. If you haven't seen Office Space, you don't know what that's about. So, as I'm watching this thing, I see this more and more. And I'm thinking, personally, this would have made a great intentional comedy if they had done it intentionally. It's a terrible unintentional comedy, but it does work. It does work, just not in the way it was intended. And I'll stop there. KE5ICX.
You know, I think I did see a red stapler on a desk there somewhere. This is WB5OZL for ID. David, W5EDD. Oh, I'm sorry, you said no comments for you. KG5WGHNet, go ahead.
Yeah, so this movie actually came out the day I was graduating from high school, and they had given us the day off to go do what we wanted to do before the ceremony. And a group of us went to the theater to see this, and pretty much the consensus afterwards was we should have probably just went to school instead that last day. But we were discussing this afterwards over tacos, during which one of our classmates had gotten a new truck and had forgotten to set the parking brake on the hill that the taco place was on, and his new truck rolling down into a bread truck on the street was way more entertaining than the movie KG556.
Listen, Billye, KF5PDS, go ahead.
Yeah, I agree with everything everybody said. Yeah, when they just launched those fighter jets after sitting around for 1,000 years, I was like, oh boy. But yeah, one word sums it up for me: schlockfest. There's just so many schlocky things about it. It's just, yeah, it's like, where does one start? It was definitely laughable, and I was reading reviews. I can understand how critics would either, laugh out loud at it or get up and walk out because it was pretty. So, other than that, yeah, the plot, gaping holes. I agree with Tom's comments there about the gaping holes in the plot. It just plotted. I don't know, there were times when it, seemed okay, but it just was so predictable and plotting that I got bored in the middle, and then at the end, came to somewhat of a conclusion, but it was just half of the book, so you could definitely tell they were setting it up for a part two that never got made because part one was just so horrible. So it just is kind of sitting there as a curiosity object, but beyond that, I will probably never watch it again. And I can see why I didn't watch it when it came out in the theaters. So with that, I'll return it to you. This is KF5 PDS, back to Nat.
In KC5 ZLM, Hector, you didn't see it, but do you have an opinion?
Yeah, this is Hector in Fort Worth, on Echolink KG5ZLM. Well, actually, I wasn't totally truthful. I did see it. I saw it when it came out in cable, but I only saw 5 minutes of it, and that's all it took for me not to keep watching it. So I didn't see the whole thing. I only saw 5 minutes, but it only took 5 minutes for me to see what John Travolta was wearing, like the costume. And you can just tell, right? I mean, if you even go back to like Planet of the Apes or the original Star Trek, you could tell that there's some artistic influence behind the costumes, behind the set, behind the way the actors are dressed. And this one it looked ridiculous. It looked like the movies my kids make, where they go around the house and they say, well, what are we going to make today? Well, let's make a zombie movie, and they just go pick things from the house, you dress up or whatever they're doing. And it's like, well, we got John Travolta, we're making a space movie. What's on the studio here that he can wear? And that's how they made his uniform. So it took about 5 minutes of watching it and then saying, well, that's, and then I switched to the next channel, and I never had an interest in going back. And then later finding out that it's, L. Ron Hubbard's space opus, and that's enough for me to say, no, I think I'm not going to touch that movie. Even if it was good, then maybe, but yeah, it took 5 minutes for me to say, yeah, it's not a good movie, and they're either trying too hard or there's a message behind it related to something else. But 5 minutes of it, that's all I've seen. This is Kilo Golf 5, Sulu Lima Mike. Back to the net.
Okay, I have a couple more things to say right now. I know I've interjected a couple of times, but I was just driving my 727 in and out of the potholes. It was just kind of ridiculous. Just didn't hold together. I think what is pathetic is that Travolta so believed in this. He thought it was going to be the best movie ever made. And Hubbard, of course, was dead by then, but he was passionate about this. I thought, oh, this is just pathetic, to be passionate about something that is so bad. Little side note, the creepy woman that was the girlfriend of Pearl with the bald head and the tongue, that was actually Kelly Preston, Travolta's real life wife. Luckily nobody recognized her. All right, do we have any more check-ins? We're going to talk about characterization. Let's start with NT5TM. Tony, go ahead.
I don't remember as many details as I would like, but what I do remember was that it was very simplistic and consisted entirely of stereotypes. You know, good, bad, and all very simplistic and boring. I remember John Travolta's character was unintentionally funny more often than the others, and that did bring some relief to the film. But when your character is unintentionally funny, it's hard to say that it's really contributing that much to the movie. NT5TM.
Okay, Tom, N5HYP, go ahead.
This is N5HYP. It was so bizarre. In some ways, Travolta so overacted his character as kind of sort of middling level security supervisor on this planet, Earth. I got a kick out of the fact that several times he would laugh and everybody else would laugh, and it sounded, the laughs were so contrived and so over the top for the statement that we all just kind of cracked up because of it. That's what Tony was saying, the unintentionally funny. It wasn't supposed to be funny. It was kind of supposed to be serious, but didn't work that way. You know, all the other characters kind of got buried in the mix. Travolta's assistant, you know, was kind of bizarre too. Just a bad characterization of an underling who kind of sort of had designs on the Travolta position, I guess. I don't know. It was just strange. Very different, very odd, very bad. In so many levels. This is N5HYP, back to that.
Hey, thanks. KC5OZT Carolyn, do you have any comments?
No, not tonight. KC5OZT.
Okay, I won't put you in the rotation, but if you feel the need to say something, just jump in. KF5TSK Burl, tell us what you think of the characters.
Well, my question was, were they really that dumb? They had no character. You know, it's like, you know, everyone was trying to steal something, and I think the original guy was stealing from the prisoners, and I don't know what he could have stole from the prisoners, because they really didn't have anything. It's almost like, you know, they were barely eating. So, you know, how could he be taking something from them? KF5TSK, back to net.
I love that line that they were going to cut the slaves' pay in half. So what pay? You know, they're slave labor. I didn't understand that there was any pay involved there. Okay, K5ICX, Tom. And I love your comment about office space. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks very much, Brenda. Here's the thing. All right, I know that Star Trek The Next Generation had been on for a few years at this point when this movie came out. I think it came out in 1996. Watching this thing, actually, all the way through for the first time last night, I instantly thought of the Klingons for the Cyclos. And I can go on and on about how I just couldn't stand Next Generation Klingons because they had this high code of honor and then would at every moment try and usurp it and make things happen. It made them dishonorable when they were talking about honor. So with that in mind, that was the first thing that came to mind when watching these guys. The other part is, how the heck did these guys, there were no women, I guess it's all guys, ended up in interstellar space? How did they manage to be able to go across the immense black ethereal space and be so darn stupid? Do they not figure out simple things? Here's one. What about the Earthlings? Apparently they love rats. Yeah, no they don't. They're eating what they can. Are they so removed from the edge? Okay, maybe they are. I don't know. Maybe that would have worked in a good story if they had just not paid attention. Well, they didn't pay attention. But somehow or another, there's got to be a focus. Nobody's got a focus. Travolta, whatever his name is in this thing, wants to leave. Okay, I get that. And he can't leave because, oh, wait. We've all lived this. Never mind. I have nothing else to say. KE5I6.
I have one. Kelly Preston was Charles' date. All the women were, well, let's just say they weren't the engineers and scientists and pilots, anything. As far as I can tell, they were all just ladies of the trade, and which, you know, you could kind of expect. Yeah, they said they seemed very stupid. Of course, their rapid learning tape talked about Euclidean geometry, so I'm not sure where they learned that. But, okay, let's move on. KG5WGH. Nick, go ahead.
I don't recall enough detail of this one anymore to have any extra comments, but I am enjoying the rest of y'all, so carry on. KG5WGH.
Nick, you're kind of scratchy. Did you finish, or I didn't hear much of what you said. Did you have anything else to say?
No, ma'am, I don't remember enough detail. I don't have any further comments. Thank you.
Alrighty then. KF5PDS, Billy, go ahead. LM Hector, do you have any comments on the characterization?
No, I don't. I think I said the 5 minutes I've watched, I think I've shared everything I could think of about that movie. So, KG5VLM, back to net.
Do you have any more check-ins? Let's talk about the special effects now. And T5TM, Tony.
I apologize. I think I've lost who we are, and we'll have no comments this round, but I'll keep listening. NT5 PM.
Ready? And N5HYP. Tom.
Most of the effects weren't too special. This is N5HYP. You know, the use of tilted camera angles, I guess, was an attempt at a special effect. The use of colored lighting, I guess, was a special effect. Like you said, Brenda, getting the Harriers to work after 1,000 years, well, heck, that's a special effect. And, and the kind of sort of the ending where the planet blew up, boy, that was just one whale of a special effect. It was pretty boring for the amount of money they spent in the year 2000, and computer animation had come quite a way. So, had it been applied right, it could have been better back then. I mean, heck, we had Star Wars around that time frame, around the year 2000. The episode, 1, 2, 3 era, and those effects were pretty darn good as compared to what we had in this movie at that same time. N5HYP back to net. I hope, please, Tom, let's have something better next week. This is N5HYP back to net.
I don't know what could be better than this. Let's see. I think Carolyn doesn't want to talk anymore. Paul, KF5TSK, tell us about special effects.
Well, I thought the special effects were very good. All the buildings. My first thought was, did they shoot this at Chernobyl to have all these empty buildings? And, they spent so much time showing glass breaking and, I guess, ice falling. But, well, what use was it? I mean, it wasn't, there was nothing new or exciting. Not really new weapons. It's kind of strange that, you break into the armory and the only thing you walk out with is anti-aircraft type guns, and you don't pick up a grenade or a rifle or anything. It's but you know how to fire a Harrier. So in 1 week, and I don't think you can really get that from a simulator. KF5TSK back to net.
Not if you've never flown before. If you were a pilot already, you could go into a simulator and get pretty adept at a Harrier, but not if you're just absolutely not technological. And those Harriers were really quiet. I know from air shows that they are really, really, really noisy. But that's a minor point. Okay, next, Tom, K5ICX.
All right, thank you. This is KE5ICX. As far as the special effects are concerned, I thought they weren't that bad. I thought that they lived up to the year 2000 and even the year 3000 to the extent that it was believable enough that they did fine. To be honest with you, I'm going to shake my fist in the air and say, stay off my grass. I think that some of the effects that have since been done, particularly in superhero movies and that, has gotten so far out of control that it's actually distracting. At least this had something that made some sense. As an example, if you go and somebody is, I don't know, flies out of an aircraft or out of some object and to the ground or whatever. In the latest movies that you see, nothing happens. There's no scratches or anything. Oh, wait, I do have a comment, though, about that. I just remembered. Those things in movies today, it's impossible. There's no way. It's not physically capable. In this movie, of course, it's very improbable, all the stuff that happens. But overall, some of the things that do occur with the aircraft and that are interesting. All right, with that being said, let me reset. I'm trying to remember the things I wanted to talk about because something came up. All right, I'm going to start with the thing that came up in my mind that was interesting. There's a scene where they're in the city and the hunter-gatherers, whatever they're called, for lack of a better word, before they get caught, just as they're getting caught, they fly through multiple panes of glass. Nobody has any sort of injury at all. I was thinking about what happened in Blade Runner, where, of course, it was not blood and gore, but it was enough blood to indicate that the glass cut you. In this case, in this movie, that didn't happen, even though they stole mercilessly from that 1980 movie. In any case, that part drove me nuts. Another thing is that in the special effects, they showed a putt-putt course with all of the things still holding up after 1,000 years. 1,000 years. And you go, geez, come on. There's no way any of this stuff would have held up. Even after 1,000 years, the putter they used probably would be rust, would be dust, would be something. So that made no sense. And as you look at the effects, the digital parts, you see everything kind of still holding together. If the film had been set, say, 50 years in the future, then I'd say, okay, this makes some sense, but not a lot. Even 50 years would be possible with the aircraft and all of that, although not probable. My point of the whole thing is that 1,000 years just throws everything in this film into a crazy kilter. It's not believable from the get-go. And then they take it and turn it into something far less after that. So if you're going to do anything, I've got a suggestion. If you want to do this sort of thing with occupation in that, do something like the series The Colony, where it's recently happened or fairly recently happened, and that you're fighting back in a surreptitious sort of way. You're trying to figure out ways to get back, and it's a slow-moving thing, but it works. I'll stop now. I've gone too long, but I think that's the special effects really can't be special in the sense that 1,000 years is 1,000 years. Set in conclusion, KE5ICX.
Hey, thanks. I looked up Jet A. It said with proper treatments, it lasts a decade. So the idea of it lasting 1,000 years is preposterous. Okay, next. Nick, KG5WGH. Go ahead. Guess we've lost Nick. Billy, have you come back? KF5 PDS.
Yes, I am here. It's been a very long day. With regards to special effects, I totally agree that, yeah, they're not special if they're not believable. I did like the look of the city, though, the kind of Planet of the Apes fallen city kind of thing. I always like movies that do that kind of post-apocalyptic thing, and you see, like, city ruins that look familiar. But yeah, I agree. It's like, because I'm thinking like the paper documents he was going through in the books, being that they were open to the elements and for 1,000 years, and he's flipping through paper books, as just to me, I think they would have crumbled to dust. And I agree about the Harrier jet. I want to know where they got the power to run the simulator, because they had the lights up and the things moving around. It's like, where did they get the power to run that thing? And yeah, going from zero training to all of a sudden flying Harrier jets perfectly without crashing and killing yourself, yeah, it was totally unbelievable. So, yeah, had they put them in a more believable context, I'd say they were good. But here it was just, yeah, totally, as you said, preposterous. I totally agree with that. And I think I missed the character round. I just did want to mention I do like Forrest Whitaker and the roles that he plays in other movies. I was extremely surprised and disappointed that he was in this. It's like, how did he get roped into doing this film? Because I consider him a very good actor. I don't consider Travolta a good actor. I don't really care for him in certain roles. I would say in certain roles, but I love Forrest Whitaker. Everything he's done, I was just like, oh man, they got him to be in this film. This is like, oh. But I liked his character. I actually liked Kerr. He was fun. His campiness to me played off a lot better than Travolta's campiness, because Travolta didn't mean for his character to be campy, but maybe Forrest Whitaker meant for his character to be campy, and I liked his kind of comic relief to it. And I love that he got the last word about, still having the gold, that he finally got it, that Travolta's character finally got the gold, Turl. And so I thought that actually was pretty fun. So with regards to character, I actually liked that, his character, the way it ended with him. But yeah, special effects. Sorry, I timed out. That's all I have to say. It's KF5 PDS, back to net.
KC5ZLM, Hector, do you have any comments?
This is Hector. Yeah, I mean, the special effects, they weren't bad. Kind of like some of the others have said, they were fine. But when you don't have a good story to tell, they sort of become irrelevant. Whether they're good or bad, it's just the good special effects either have a sort of a style to them, and they add to the story, or they're part of the story, or you don't notice them because the story's so good. It's just you're immersed in the world, and this whole movie just didn't, when it's that bad, the special effects were actually okay, and you would expect that for I guess somebody said, what, $73 million they spent on the movie. You would expect something sort of decent, and it wasn't like it was, that long ago where they couldn't get it, but they were fine. But when the story's so bad and so contrived, I mean, it's, to me, it felt like I'm a big Star Wars fan, but the movie felt like the Star Wars Christmas special, where I just don't know what they were trying to do with it. So, I mean, the special effects were fine, but when the story's that bad, it doesn't matter what the special effects are. This is KG5ZLM, back to net.
Well, they spent $73 million on this film, so, except for Travolta, who gave a bunch of his own money back to it, there weren't any big names to pay. So obviously they spent it on special effects. And a lot of the special effects are pretty good. You figure it's been almost 20 years. But it just didn't add to the story. That's the problem with them. It's just, you know, one explosion after another, ho-hum. And I don't, that's not my cup of tea. All right, this is W5OZL. Now we're going to open it up to anybody about anything, and we won't go down the list. Just break in if you have some comment to make. Go ahead.
KE5ICX.
November Tango 5. Tango Mike.
We'll do W5EBB and then NT5TM. Go ahead.
All right, thanks. Well, you know, for all the bad in this actually could have potentially been nominated for an Oscar. In the makeup and hairstyle award category, because it's very difficult to get that consistently nappy hair look in all of the characters, which they did exceptionally well. There's a consistent prominent forehead and even sort of a widow's peak, and it all kind of ties together and wraps around the sides and then drapes elegantly down to nose hair or a conical beard sort of messy look. But they did it consistently, so they deserve credit for that. Now, one thing that this movie could have benefited from was, well, for the audience at least, was let's see, what is it? What is the name of it? It's what prevents the atmosphere of the 8th planet of our solar system. Beano. If anyone would have taken a couple of those, this might have been a little bit easier to watch. Just a guess. That's all. W5EBB.
Okay, NT5TM. Tony, go ahead.
I think Tom was trying to get in as well. I just wanted to pick on the platform boots. Probably the oldest kind of trick photography in all of movie making is making short people look tall and tall people look short. You place one person closer to the camera, you have people stand on boxes. There's a lot of different basic tricks that don't cost much. So making the aliens walk around in those ugly platform boots was just, well, it was hilarious, but I don't think that's what they were going for, and it was by far the most memorable piece of that movie to me. NT5TM.
Huh. Okay, KE5ICX. Did you have something?
Miss Brenda, I did. I was reading this on wikizero.com. I don't know why that popped up. That's where I was reading all this stuff. Wikizero? At any rate, here's a comment. It says in 1998, this project, this film, was taken over by Franchise Pictures, a recently established company whose head, Eli Samaha, a former dry cleaning mogul turned nightclub owner, specialized in rescuing stars' pet projects. Franchise sought out stars whose projects were stalled at major studios, bringing them aboard at reduced salaries. And Samaha's approach made waves in Hollywood, earning him a reputation being able to produce star vehicles more cheaply than the larger studios. His unorthodox deals raised eyebrows in entertainment industry magazine Variety, comments they were often so complex and variable as to leave outsiders scratching their heads. As Samaha put it, I said, if John wants to make this movie, what does he want to get paid? Because I do not pay anybody what they make. This is not my business plan. He learned of Battlefield Earth from some agent at a theatrical agency and approached Travolta. The deal was soon struck and financing was arranged. Travolta significantly reduced his normal fee of $20 million, lowering the film's cost from $100 million that had previously been forecast, and costs were reduced further by using Canadian locations and facilities. I think that's enough. This was a vanity project for John Travolta, and it was done on the cheap. Well, maybe not so cheap. I will say this, though. I thought the music was pretty darn good, but I don't know who the composer was. KE5ICX.
B5OZL. The composer was Elliot or Ellis. I can't read it on my computer. ELIA looks like CMIRAL. I never heard of him. Have you heard of him, Tom?
Does not ring a bell, but I will look him up. No. KE5ICX.
He is from Czechoslovakia, and he didn't do just a whole lot more than that. Nash Bridges, Atlas Shrugged. Not just a whole lot of blockbusters, you can see. Okay, one thing that troubled me was this teleportation device. They sent bombs back to the home planet through teleportation, and they never tell us much about, or anything about where the home planet was. Did all these people teleport over to Earth, or did they ride in their spaceships? And if so, did they have faster than light travel, or what? Some unanswered questions, and I would like to know. And if to me that would be important. It's kind of like kind of cheating. It's like, well, we'll just blow up their home planet. So they make up a way to do that, even though it's not plausible. Okay, any other comments?
EBB.
W5EBB. Go ahead, David.
Totally in jest. I would rather do a stack full of TPS reports than watch this movie again. W5EBB.
Huh. Yeah, I get it. And, I had missed it until Tom pointed it out that, yeah, this is every incompetent, backstabbing bureaucrat in the world. It's just the same all through the universe. Okay, who else would have a comment? Well, I'm going to turn this back over to Tom, KE5ICX, and he can tell us about what delights we have waiting for us next week. Go ahead, Tom.
All right, thank you, Miss Brenda. First off, I want everybody to know, if you are still are willing to be a Facebook participant, you can go to Afterglow Movie. That's 2 words, Afterglow, and the second word is movie, and request that you be included, and you'll see all the discussion and reminders and movies that are on the list and what's on deck and all of that fun stuff. It's actually pretty good as far as all the movies that are available. We have hot links to everything. So, also, if you're not a Facebook fan, after all the fun that's been going on with Facebook, you can send me an email at my call sign, Kilo Echo 5 India Charlie X-ray at yahoo.com. Go there and say you would like to be signed up, and I'll send you the same information that shows up on the Facebook page. So, the movie for next week is the fine film Going Back in Time, or is it Going Into the Future? The Yesterday Machine from 1963. It is available online. It is in the public domain, I believe. So go there. I'm not sure exactly what the link is now. Probably YouTube. And then, if you're interested, the following week is a film that was recommended here, A Boy and His Dog, from 1975. That will be on May 12th. But next week is The Yesterday Machine from 1963. If you've got any suggestions, after we close the net, I will listen in and I will write them down and I'll see if there are links available. So that's it from me. What a fine film that somebody chose. It was, oh wait, it was me. KE5ICX.
So, you finally owned up to it. I have one parting shot on Wikipedia. Travolta loved the book so much. He described it in interviews as like Pulp Fiction for the year 3000 and like Star Wars, only better. Oh, he's so pathetic. All right, we're going to shut down the net now. It's 23:45. This is WB5OZL, and we'll see you all next week.